Small Business Analytics Alumni Speaker Series. We have Alan Monahan, Project Manager and Development and Analytical Services at Catalan Pharma Solutions. Okay. He develops, coordinates, and manages client projects from project kickoff to completion. Provides management for clients across Catalan 4 sites and is responsible for management of 4 million in annual revenue. Manages sales and operation planning for the development and analytical solution business unit with 100 million in annual revenue. He graduated from Indiana University in Bloomington with a BS in chemistry and of course a minor in business. And he is the Wake Tech Community College Business Analytics Program alumni. All right. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
Yes, I would like to add that Alan is one of the students in the first group who joined our program. It was pretty brave of him to he would come into the program where we really didn't know what we were doing there.
I didn't realize that when I
What
joined.
you did was be as good, and these students were obviously here to learn. And they were obviously demanding in what they were wanting to learn. So it is really through their efforts that we built this program. It is really understanding their needs and understanding their skill levels that has brought us to where we are. I have to say that Alan is also one of our students who has set the bar really high for the rest of you. You will be seeing examples of good papers, and I am still using Alan's paper as the best example for for a couple of the upper level analytics courses. I think Alan has done a stupendous job, and he has really taken advantage of all the tools that he has learned here. So we're very pleased that he went through our program. I think you really helped us develop our program better. And you showed us what can be done with the tools that we taught you. So thank you. And it's a pleasure to have you back.
That's very nice, thanks. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Looks like it's growing exponentially, the number of people that come to this and go through this. So we'll keep this pretty open and brief. But like I said, I'm Alan Monahan. So I'm going to talk about, I've been in the pharmaceutical industry since graduating college, so that's past 11, 12 years now. Various roles, started as a chemist in a pharmaceutical lab and working with managing pharmaceutical labs, and then over to project management and business analytics. So I'm talking a little about a couple of the projects I went through and just generally how I applied what I learned in this program to some of the work I did. So like I said, I work for Catalan Pharma Solutions. We are a contract research manufacturing organization, so a pharmaceutical company will come to us for research and development, clinical trial management, or manufacturing of products. So we make about 2 billion doses a day of pharmaceutical products, so everything from oxycodone to Visine, so across the full range. If you've taken one of the over-the-counter drugs, we probably made it at some point or will. So, like I said, a little background, like Eddie said, I went to Indiana University, got a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and a minor in Business. 10 years of experience. So, one of the main things that this program helped me was in one of my roles, I was a value pricing leader. So I was managing the pricing structures and sales strategy for Catalan Pharma Solutions, our analytical services unit. Involved, looking at sales and financial data, looking at pricing and the market reaction to that pricing. Also really deep dives into operational costs and operational margins, see where we can improve margins in our operations. Like I said, used a lot of what I learned in this class to help do that, especially from the perspective of building forecast models, and just really looking at large amounts of data in a way that is structured and that we can understand without being led down the wrong path. I think that's one thing that I learned a lot about in this program was not be led astray by what you might see in large amounts of data. Let's see what's next. And okay, there we go. Eddie asked, speak briefly about why I came to this. I had heard about Wake Tech was starting this program up, and I was very interested. I've always been kind of that analytical mindset, right? So I was very interested in moving beyond the basics of just using Excel or just looking at information and trying to understand it. I wanted to learn new tools and techniques as well, not just the actual tools of SAS or R programming, but the techniques of how to analyze data and report that, and more importantly, make decisions or allow people to make decisions on that data. So reporting it effectively and efficiently, highlighting what needs to be done, and trying to avoid the noise in the data and really pick up the signal and give that to people who much higher the ladder than me to make decisions that they need to make. Like I said, the process of effective, truthful analysis, a lot of times you see that looking at data, looking at operations, looking at sales, it's easy to be led astray, follow what turns out to be just some noise in data, and think that is what you need to base your decision on. And really, what I learned a lot about was trying to find what the true points of the information were and dig into that. Very slow. Gotta go back. Okay. No. Okay, there we go. So some highlights. I'll go through a couple of projects that I worked on, just an overview, give you some idea of some of the stuff I worked on in the pharmaceutical industry, and try to tell you how I learned a lot of this and how I applied to it. This is one of the first projects I worked on as the value pricing leader was operational analysis. So in our business, we have a wide range of customers. We have about 500 different pharmaceutical companies we work with, ranging from the large companies like Pfizer all the way down to what we call just virtual companies. Just one guy with an idea, maybe he came up with it in his garage and he wants to make that product happen. So we have a wide range of size and wide range of companies that we work with. So we looked at our profitability and the profits that were made over a yearly basis for each of these companies and segmented them into various groups. Now, the way we segmented it was primarily on size and the needs of the customer. So we found that very large companies, billions of dollars, tens of thousands of employees, tended to act similarly in what their needs were. And then going down to mid-sized and small companies, we found that looking at kind of how each company operated, we could group them together and segment them out. And then one interesting thing was we found, looking through our revenue, that big pharma companies, they get the revenue and the earnings over a yearly basis. Some big pharma companies, so our top 8 to 10 customers, we had about $20 million in revenue and about $4.8 million in profit. It's about 25%. It's great profit. But we found that looking at all the other 490 companies we work for, we did about $12 million in revenue and $5 million in profit. So that's closer to 40% profitability. So just looking at some basic revenue and profits, we were able to see quite effectively that the customers that we like or we want to target from a sales point are a lot of the smaller customers, which is not originally what we thought before we started looking at this. We thought that you want the big fish, right? You want the big companies have a lot of money and a lot of projects, and that's typically what we targeted. But looking through this, we found that the smaller companies are actually a lot more profitable for us. On the flip side, we found that they take a little more work to manage, but that's far offset by doing less work and earning the same amount of profit. So we were able to adjust our sales strategy quite a bit to focus on these smaller companies, mid-sized companies, and target a lot more of them. The next question comes up, well, why is that the case? Right? So we didn't stop with just seeing that adjust our sales strategy. We wanted to understand why. Looking at what we did was we went out and just did a bunch of customer surveys. So we called a bunch of our customers and just talked to them, asked them a bunch of questions about what do you value when you choose a service provider? What do you value when you're selecting who to work with? And we were able to take each of our segments and identify what they value, which also drove our sales targeting. For instance, huge companies just want bodies to do the work. Give you the work, get it back, don't bother with me too much. Just do what I tell you and give it back. These small companies need a lot of expert help in some cases, so we were able to actually increase our price and charge more for that because they valued that expertise that we had for their work. So that part of the reason that we were able to drive a higher profit margin is because they valued our expertise and were willing to pay for that. So that adjusted all of our sales strategies going forward. We started targeting a lot more smaller companies, really fanning the field out a lot more. And really, this highlights, we went through the first round and then we didn't stop there. We asked why. Well, why is that the case? And we continue to ask why and look at this and make sure that we are targeting the right companies for our sales strategy. So I think a big takeaway from this is to keep asking why. And I'll probably keep saying that one day, but that's probably the biggest thing I learned is never be satisfied with where you end up. Just keep asking why is that the case, and when you find the answer, well, why is that the answer, or what else can we keep digging through. You'll be surprised what you come up with sometimes, and you'll be surprised. Most often it goes against conventional wisdom, anecdotal evidence. You see a lot of that when making decisions like this. It's based largely on anecdotes as opposed to the actual data and information. So fighting back against that, you have the power of data. It's a lot better to do. We'll just stay on this slide, please.
Need to get focus back on PowerPoint.
You have to click back over. Or you go to the next slide. You say next slide?
Yeah.
Throw it out.
Next.
So this was kind of a simple project we worked on as well from a sales perspective. So we when a customer comes to us, we write a quote for the work, send it out to them. It's usually a pretty long document, tells us what we're going to do, pricing for all that. Some can be pretty long and complicated. And is most of the case, they aren't just reaching out to us, they're reaching out to some of our competitors as well, see who can get the best price for the work or where they want to put it. So we went into this just saying, can we increase our win percentage? So the basic win percentage is if we send out $4 million, we win $2 million. That's 50% win percentage. Pretty good. We weren't really satisfied. We wanted to see what we could do to improve that. I mean, the obvious things were lower price. Things were talk to our customers more. Lower price is usually the main thing. We don't want to do that if possible. So one thing we looked at was how quickly we get a quote in the customer's hands after they request it. And we found that there was a high correlation looking at the delivery time, the time it takes to get a quote in the customer's hands, and the actual win rate. So we took all of our, all our sales data, and we split out, kind of removed all the noise, all of the outliers, so to speak. You actually use SAS to do this. One of the first projects we were able to plug through SAS, and it's pretty fun. We were able to cut out a lot of the outliers, cut out a lot of the garbage, really focus in on one aspect of the business unit and find a trend and correlation of that. So we found that each day we could decrease in the time it took a quote to get in the customer's hand. We could increase the win percentage by 5% or so. That adds up to a lot of money when you crank out a lot of quotes like we do. So just finding that high correlation was a big eye-opener for everyone, that getting stuff moving forward, the faster we get something in someone's hand, the more likely they are to decide to work with us. Again, we didn't stop there. We asked why, and we went back to some customer surveys, and the number one thing was it was a good first impression about our professionalism. Decreasing the time between when they request something, we get quote to them. Was a big step. So we focused hard with our contracts and sales groups to decrease that time, put new processes in place to move it down from an average of 7 days to 3 days. And like I said down there, we won $1 million more in 3 months. It was a big win, and operations were real happy with that. So we were able to just work with a pretty simple correlation. You could see it was highly correlated with delivery to the amount of money we bring in the door. And that's helped us across the board. We applied that to some of our other business units as well, trying to decrease the delivery times to get work started. And then beyond that, even just the initial kickoffs and getting work started. Really fast. So it was very helpful, and it's actually a short project and a big bonus come out of it. So not always things have to be really difficult either, really complicated. Sometimes a simple solution like this, a couple of process changes, and we cut the days down in half, and we're making new money. So it was a really good little project. I'm going to go to the next one. All right, revenue forecast model. So I built a forecast model as well for our business unit. It's one of the first things we learned in one of the first classes was forecast modeling. And it's kind of you don't really pay too much attention to numbers. But what we did was we took our quotes that we won, and then we plotted the revenue that we collected on a monthly basis. Now this is over 2 years, so it's probably about 1,500 different projects and all the revenue across the month associated with that. So your data sample gets pretty large pretty quick. And by subdividing that by the types of work we did, we were able to essentially analyze what we call a burn rate. So if we win a $1 million project, in the first month we averaged about 7% of that revenue collecting it. What was that, $70,000? $70,000. And then, month one we collected about another 10%, and so on and so forth. So we were able to essentially forecast out what our projected revenues would be for each project that we won, based on what the size of the quote was. And doing that, we essentially built a forecast model. Forecast, we won $3 million this month. How does that support our revenue going forward? And you can see the overall trend. If you go to the next slide, you can see what the final thing looks like. So this is the revenue forecast model. It's kind of old, but this is what we use on a monthly basis now in our sales and operations planning. See the teal line was our actual revenue month to month over the last year and a half, and the blue line was our actual forecasted revenue for that, based just on our sales wins, based on how much we won each month. We forecast that with a pretty high degree of accuracy, even estimating some of the dips in our revenue. So we can see, we saw this overall, our trend was starting to trend downwards going out to future months. So this really highlighted the need, kind of proactively, to see 6 months or a year out, get an idea of the trend and where it's going. And in that case, we were going to focus more of our efforts on closing projects and closing quotes that we had outstanding. So we made this big sales effort and we were able actually to reverse that trend and see it starting to go up. So you can see that on a month-to-month basis, especially in the past, it's correlated pretty highly to what our actual revenue is on a monthly basis. And then going forward, as soon as all that out, it's because we don't have as much recent data. And you'll see that in forecast models. The further you go out, the more it tends to flatten out.
I have a quick question. Why do you see this dip in Jan and Feb? I mean, it seems to be a pattern. Is that true?
In January, February, yeah, we usually don't see it this big. Usually we see these 2 months are lower, November and December, because we only have about 3 weeks out of the month to work between holidays and that sort of thing. Things slow down. Also, customers' year-end budgets. If they've spent that, they want to wait for the next year's budget to kick in before they start developing more. So we do see a bit of a cyclical trend, which we tried to build into this at a later date as well. It was built in some seasonality within around the holidays, November, December, and then January, February, things like that. We always see a spike in May and June. Our fiscal year starts July 1st. So we always see a spike in May and June trying to meet our revenue numbers. So we're cranking out work left and right. So we built in a bit of seasonality for that too. Every June we're going to crank almost the record high, right? Seasonality doesn't have to be a day, it could be the type of workload that you do. But this has helped us a lot. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it took us weeks, right? It wasn't a super complicated forecast model, just a simple thing that gave us a lot of insight into the future that we didn't have before. We could see generally where a trend is going. And when you set a yearly budget, if you see the trend is not going to meet that, you can take steps 6 months ahead to try and fix that. So it was a good little project, and there's a lot I didn't know almost anything about forecasting for this program. So it was a lot. Building in seasonality really helped as well. So it was a good little project to forecast. Let's go to the next one. I think I have one more. Some kind of sales pricing analysis, right? So when I first took over as a value pricing leader, so market research and pricing, we had seen issues with customer complaints about our pricing being too expensive. So we did an analysis on kind of our contract refusals over the past 2 years. When possible, our sales staff puts in a reason that we lost a contract. And looking through that data initially, this is a big point where, first off, there's a lot of blanks. Right? There's a lot of no reason they didn't put it in. So we're looking at 3,000 or 4,000, sales contracts, probably about 4,000 contracts we've lost over the past couple of years. First off, we had to clear out all the blanks. That's what happened. Right? So clear out all that, and then we saw our biggest one was project canceled. So that's kind of, we found out talking to sales staff, it's kind of a catch-all. We don't know what the reason is we lost it, so project canceled. So we left that in there just to highlight that. That was it's not a real reason most of the time. But not looking through the data in a little more nuanced, we probably would have picked up on that when I was talking to sales staff. Then we found that price was about our biggest reason, right? And we still had some blanks in there based on projects we knew that we had a good idea of why they were lost, but we didn't want to still highlight the blank. We didn't want to show that. And then of course timing, other information, but turned out price was an issue. It was pretty basic when looking at Salesforce. We could see price was an issue feedback from customers. We also found out what this shows is that price is pretty much the number one issue. What we also found out in digging a little deeper.
When you say price, you talk about clinical trials or sales of drugs or all combined?
For our work, it was more research and development work. So they requested us to do some research and development on their, at that stage it was before, the end of clinical trial. So it was before it was marketed product. Yeah, so we would, price that work out for all research and development, analytical services, and then give that to the customer. That's the price. When they would take that same work to our competitors or other contract organizations, they were getting a lower price than us.
So have you found that if you show smaller projects, you still have the same process to go through? Bigger projects, you have the same process, but you make more dollars. Did you look at that?
Yeah, we did. We looked at it, as far as we did look at it across the size of the project. So kind of using some of the clustering, we grouped it in various sizes. So smaller projects, we found that when price wasn't as much an issue as it was on larger projects. When you get to $500,000, $1 million, the customers were spending a lot more money. We found that price was concentrated on those bigger programs. We initially tried to alleviate that by basically lowering our margins on those bigger programs, but we found that in a lot of cases our competitors were underbidding us and being able to provide a better price than we were. But you're right that it was concentrated on larger programs from a pricing perspective. It's probably something I should highlight too. Thanks. So we looked at that. We also found that in actually talking to our sales staff, once we highlighted that price was a major issue, we got some feedback from them that even though the customer will say price is the issue, that's not always the actual reason we lost some work. We found and we actually asked a couple customers we know very well, and they flat out told us that we will say price just to keep the relationship good. Right? So we highlighted this as the #1 issue. Turned out it was an issue, but probably not the #1 issue that we found out. A lot of times we just say, yeah, it's too expensive, when it's really, we don't really trust you. You don't want to say that, right? And you want to try to keep the relationship going. Did hear that from time to time, which is never good. So, bottom line, we said, we do need to make some adjustments to price and effects of that. Do the next slide. So we did a break-even analysis on pricing changes and what we would need to win in order to keep our profit the same, so our kind of raw profit. And we kind of built this out and presented it to management to let them decide what kind of pricing change we wanted to do. Basically what I have here is, on a yearly basis for this group, we sent out about $4 million worth of quotes. And last year we won 1.56 million, so we won about 39% of that work at our price rate, right, at the price that we use. And we calculated out, based on either a price increase or a decrease in increments, how much we would need to win on that same $4 million that we sent out to keep the same profit. So our profit margin is probably 20 to 30%. So we calculated out, if we lower the price, we obviously have to win more work to have the same profit. And we targeted, plus or minus 10%. Would it be better to increase the price, just win less work, but do it at a higher margin, or decrease the price? Initially, everyone said just lower 10%, 15%, just do that, be easy. Found out that we had to win quite a bit more work. We had to win more than just 10% more work to keep the profit the same. We had to win almost 17 to 20% more work. Sales staff did not think they could do that even with the 10% price reduction. So what we did in this case, after presenting this to manager, we decided just to keep it the same and focus on other sales strategies. This was some analysis just from our looking at our revenue data and see where the profits were for this type of work, and kind of extrapolating out what that would need to be based on different price points that we do. So it was good. It was good. Good to highlight just how much more work we need to do just to make the same amount of money, especially from a sales or an operations perspective. So it was good analysis, and it was kind of shocking. Everyone said, "Look at price, we'll win more." But when we saw we had to win over 50% of what we sent out, sales staff did not think that was likely, even given a price reduction. We would have had to reduce our price even more because our competitors are already undercutting us for some of this work. So just to come in even with them, we would have to lower 10%. So what we did instead, was we tried to focus more on our expertise in selling that. So we developed some new sales strategies for our sales staff, some new talking points for them to talk to customers and highlight some of our expertise and successes. And that actually drove the win rate up about 5 or 6%. So without changing price, we focused on something different after looking at what we would need to do if we lower price, and it turned out pretty well for us. Some of our other groups, we tried the same thing and did not go so well. So sometimes the best isn't good enough. Right? So we had to lower prices in some other areas. But it was kind of break-even analysis. It was all just done in Excel, but it highlighted how much of a change we actually needed. It was a good little program. So those are some of the highlights, some of the kind of projects I've worked on. I think a lot of what I've learned in this class was just not just the tools, learning SAS and R is very good to know, but more than that, it's the process, and it's Dr. Shaw bugging me for 2 years about asking why and never being satisfied with the answer. So you can go on to the next one, I guess. Yeah, what should I take away from all this? Go to the next one. See what's that camera? Oh yeah. So I just pulled this slide off. You probably already know the amount of data is staggering that's going on every year. This is actually from a couple years ago. This is just the data around the world in zettabytes. So zettabyte is, I looked it up, to a billion gigabytes. So we're looking at, we're 2015 now. It's just exponentially growing. I mean, everything is being logged now. So it's just insane the amount of information that is being collected. And someone needs to look at it. And it's not as easy as just someone needing to look at it, unfortunately. There's the sheer scale of what we can look at now, and the sheer scale that we need to look through is staggering. Even in my business, where we deal with a couple of thousand lines of data, it can be a lot of work to glean the right insights from that. So it's definitely, I think you all know this, it's just going to be staggering next couple of years. So you guys are in the right program. Good job for that. I think we have one more. So yeah, you probably saw here in this class. I should probably saw the slide. I think this is the biggest thing I learned from this program. Beyond just the coding, beyond making charts and forecast models, is really the structured approach. And I don't see this a lot with people, groups of people that I work with. They usually skip quite a few of these steps, especially in the data cleaning, processing. I see a lot of people just take the whole dump and just start going, and it leads them the wrong way a lot of the time. So that's one of the battles I've had with a lot of people is processing and cleaning the data, getting rid of the noise first, or getting rid of the junk that you just don't want to look at. But this approach, collection, processing, exploring, modeling, and then cycling back and doing it all over again is probably what I've taken from this class the most, and what's helped me the most in my job and working with other people is first off cleaning that information and finding the right set of information you need before you move forward with looking at it. And then when you're exploring, keep asking why. Keep looking at different avenues. Maybe be creative with it too, right? Be creative with your questions. Don't settle for maybe the first thing that pops out. Maybe there's a lot more layers of information to look through on that. So this is probably what I've taken away most. When you report it out, it doesn't stop there. Unfortunately, you can start the cycle all again, maybe dig deeper, or maybe look at a different set of data. So that's probably the most valuable thing over 2 years. We've got a lot of practice in that. Each one of these little projects, papers, you have a lot of practice in that. And Dr. Shaw does a great job of bugging you about it too.
You're underutilized right now. There's a lot of skills that you've developed which the company is not ready for yet.
Absolutely. You see that a lot.
I think you have a lot of more tools at your disposal than you're able to apply, because I think companies are still not ready to use all those predictive tools that you have learned.
Yeah, that's another thing too. We were talking about this earlier. Companies are analytics positions are opening up like crazy. But you read the job descriptions, they're super vague. Just super vague. Just look at operational strategy and along the lines. So we were talking, it seems like a lot of people want to get into analytics. They realize that they have more information than they can handle, but they don't really know what they want or how to do it. So a lot of, I saw this in my pricing role, it was kind of the same thing. We knew we had problems, but it was really up to me to define what the job description was in the end, what needed to be done. So you see that with a lot of positions now. I think going into interviews, going into talking to companies about a position, be ready to define the position that you think it should be, because I think most people you're talking to won't really know what they want beyond they want answers. So I've seen a lot just in the people I've worked with in my company. It's just they know they have a problem, they know they need a solution, they don't really know how to get there.
Were you involved with the data modeling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, some of the,
So the analysis, what exactly were you guys working on, or general?
well, beyond the forecast model, we were modeling essentially the pharmaceutical market in our area. So we were trying to determine where the market was going from a customer's perspective, especially for each segment of the pharmaceutical industry. What types of work were coming in the pipeline, and where was the market shifting? We saw overall the market, pharmaceutical companies are outsourcing a lot more work. It's more cost effective than having huge staffs of scientists waiting around and having labs that take a lot of overhead to manage and maintain. So we see that year to year, the outsource market is growing by leaps and bounds. So we try to model what kind of the future held for the next 3 years and where customers were going and what they were looking for. I went back to a lot of those customer surveys and talking to customers about, what do you value and how can we deliver that? So we try to model, for each segment of the market, the type of work we did, for instance, our research and development for, some of the early work we do is determining the best form of a molecule. It's kind of the first step. You have this idea, this molecule does something in the human body. We need a stable form of it so we can start to develop how to manufacture it. So we saw that market was exploding from a customer perspective. A lot of customers were starting to lay off their teams that used to do that and outsource it. And we have a top shelf team that does that. So we saw that market exploding over the next 3 years. We've been able to capitalize on that by hiring sales staff that are dedicated to that. So a lot of the modeling was market specific, as well as trying to model what the customer reaction would be to pricing changes. So.
We've been told that the SaaS product is very robust. It's also very expensive. Did your company already purchase that, or how did you?
I tried. I tried to get them to buy it. No, not willing to. We have a new focus on business analytics now. We have a new VP of IT that is really focused on improving our analytics. So far, we focused on getting. I can't remember what the program is. It's not Tableau, but it's very similar.
Jump or R? Jump or R?
We do have Jump. So that's used just for scientific purposes, though. Don't really have, we're a huge company, so IT access to all of our systems is really hard to get sometimes. So it's a real pain to go through all that. So I tried to get them to buy SaaS, even just an individual license just for me. Hasn't fought it yet. So I've been sitting Excel and actually did some of the SaaS at home on the computer in the university.
You just need to read
Don't tell anyone. Don't tell
Well,
the SaaS the license.
That was what I was really asking. I was like, okay, so it really behooves us as students to expose ourselves to as much software. Like if we do a project in SaaS, maybe it behooves me to say, okay, I have the same data set, stick it in the open source, or see if I get like similar results. That way I can say, oh, well, if you don't want to buy SaaS, I already know R. I did this project the same way I've done Tableau probably. So
Absolutely.
maybe,
Yeah, absolutely. Learn as much about all those programs as you can. You never know what you're going to be able to work with.
Right.
I can't use SaaS at work.
Are going to buy SaaS.
I violated the university license and did it at home. Just if I could.
This is promotion use.
Yeah.
Not good.
Luckily, my computer was open enough from the corporate IT environment. I was able to install R, so I've used some of that, right? So luckily, I learned some of that. So install that, use that work.
Question about sort of the nitty-gritty details,
Uh-huh.
I guess. So, put that nice slide up on, 10%
Thank you.
this way, 10% that way. Oh, it's pretty, I presented it in 10 seconds. How long does that take you, and how many people does that take to, get all that data, clean it, make it something pretty to present?
It really varied. In the first kind of project, just looking at operational, profitability, looking at our different segments, it took about 6 weeks. just myself really, with asking some other people. I was a team of one, unfortunately, we didn't really have a department. It was just a new role they were kind of trying out. As it turns out, they were kind of trying it out. So it was really just me. I had one other guy I worked with who had a lot of experience operationally, but that was about a 6-week project, not even really full time. Luckily, a lot of the upfront work of just finding out where the information is already collected and available to me, so that some of my other projects, that took a week or two itself, just finding where the right data source was, right, and getting that information. Unfortunately, when you have a huge company, sometimes different areas of business use different programs just to keep their financials, right, so it's digging through to find the right stuff. But I would say a couple hours a day, that took about 6 weeks. And then the follow-up, just keeping up and analyzing it took, just a couple hours a week just to keep it up to date and follow through the action. The big thing afterward, the harder part was following through afterwards to get people to change, right? So that was the harder part. But, some of these projects took, the break-even analysis took a couple days. And then I did kind of the same overall analysis of different groups in our unit. Those would take about 2 months apiece, and then I do a presentation. So, it definitely varies, but having a team to work with definitely helps a lot. Just from the perspective of not distributing the workload, but bouncing ideas off each other, and having someone to work with and ask the questions of each other. Multiple people look at the data really help more than anything else. So yeah, took a lot. The project took a long time too. Yeah.
I noticed you mentioned the PowerPoint revenue forecast model and used the burn rate forecast. What exactly is a burn rate?
So burn rate, what we called anyway, was if we have a project that was $1 million we won. These are really long-term projects, so they may take 6 months to 3 years to actually do all the work associated with that. So we would take our old projects that we won 2 or 3 years ago and then map out the actual revenue that we earned on a monthly basis and took that across probably 1,200 different projects and averaged those out, estimated. On month 1, we averaged about $60,000 or $70,000 we collected. Then month 2, we collected maybe another $50,000. And basically, so when you win a quote for $1 million today, you make an estimate of next month, I'm probably going to invoice about 7% of that. And then the next month after that, another 10%, and so on until the whole project's completed. So we took, obviously our projects are all different, but we took kind of the average across our various groups to do that. Does that make sense? No?
Somewhat. So it's like you look at the average revenue and then try to calculate on a project per month. That's what.
Yeah. So we took all our old projects that we won, and so how did the revenue actually play out over those 2 years, right? So we get an idea of each month. This is how much we made on that $1 million project that we won, and then going forward, we took those averages and take our sales each month and take that money and distribute it out for the future. All right? We call it a burn rate. So you sign a quote, you burn about 7-8% a month. Actually collect that. So it was a lot of work. I mean, burn rate's probably not the best way to say it, but that's what we call it.
Yes, mine is basically on the cost of, I don't know if you've been able to research on the cost of the license, and have you done a cost benefit analysis of, let's say, for example, to have SaaS on board?
Yeah. I didn't do that for trying to get, you're talking about like justification to buy it?
Yes.
Yeah, for the company, yeah, I didn't do that. I got shut down pretty quick. So I didn't really go through with that. In being able to use R a little bit helped offset some of that. But the company didn't really want to, they were focusing more on consolidating their tools to use across the whole company as opposed to siloing it to certain groups or certain people. So they've made some steps in that. They may get steps in the future, who knows. Problem is not many, I may be the only one in the company that knows it. That might be the other problem. So even getting a corporate license would be too expensive for one guy.
It is,
That's
it's very
right,
expensive.
Yeah, that's right.
However, I think what you do have to remember is that learning SAS allows you to move very quickly into other open source software. So somebody like Alan, if you wanted to pick up and apply the same tools in Python or R, it's a trivial task for you. It may take a couple of days at most.
It's just syntax differences,
exactly, it's just the syntax, but you understand the logic, you understand what model you're going to build, and that's important to know which model to apply where, and you know how to set the data together, how to merge the data, and those are the processes that you need to understand. But the syntax is very, I mean, you know, once you understand the logic of syntax, you'll see it's very common across. I mean, and there are a lot of commonalities.
Yeah, that's a good point. The process is very similar. Even the syntax may be different, but the process is very similar.
Yeah. I just got a lot of compared Python to SAS, and you can see how
So
you can match it up almost identically.
So you said before you started off with SAS and you had classes in SAS. And then you started with SAS where you were working. And you switched to R. Now I know SAS does modeling everything differently internally than R. I mean, the process is different. You may get the same model, the same results. Did that affect you in any way?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, R and SAS are kind of just built differently in terms of how you work through that and process it. So yeah, it was definitely a learning curve. Like I had some exposure to R. SAS I always liked the best, just because the ease and kind of free-flowing nature of the syntax. You didn't have to be perfect with it to get what you needed. Make some syntax.
It is a lot easier. I mean, you know, because of open source has its own can of worms. Because you are going to get syntax and you're going to get different libraries from different sources. There are little quirks, especially with R, there are a lot of quirks. And it's really difficult to keep up with the differences across different packages, while SAS has a consistent format. I think Python is more consistent than R. So in terms of the syntax. But yes, I think in terms of ease of use, I think SAS is definitely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was benefited from that. These weren't overly complex from a modeling perspective. So I was really, the benefit I saw was not using pivot tables in Excel and using R instead. Because when you're dealing, you'd be amazed how often Excel crashes when you start dumping a lot into it. Right? So it's just not having to do that. And then the other benefit was being able to save the code and just rerun it, as opposed to rebuilding pivot tables all day. That was one of the biggest benefits. But there was definitely some learning curves with R and dealing with it a little differently in SAS.
So I've known some statisticians who were up there in their careers, and they started with SAS and they stuck with it because it's expensive. And so from the people who I know, very few of them use R because of their use of SAS for so many years. They just got to refuse to use R. Could you see that happen in one of your work? Like all R or all SAS?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think in large companies and industries, they'll always go for a purchased solution as opposed to an open source one. So I would definitely see in any mid to large size company, they would go with SAS or I'm not sure what other purchase solutions like that are out there. But I don't see them moving towards open source or free solutions, just from the perspective of IT support alone, and the benefits of being able to roll that out as an enterprise solution and be able to maintain that. So I would say the trend from the pharmaceutical industry, everyone uses SAS Jump from a scientific perspective, or Minitab, statistical stuff from a scientific perspective. From the business side, it definitely move towards purchase solutions. We're actually moving towards ClickSense, I think is what it's called.
ClickView?
K-L-I-K. Stupid.
Right.
Or Q-L-I-K or something like that. I know.
Yeah, Q-L-I-K.
Yeah. So ClickSense, it's like Tableau.
Right. ClickView.
Kind of enterprise solution. So we're implementing that. I don't think anyone knows how to use it, but we'll see what happens with that. That could open a whole other can of worms, right? People make it easier to go down the wrong path.
Did you find that when you began the project, you asked the first why question based on, of course, what your leadership wants to know? Did you find that because you didn't stop at the first why and you continued, that it produced more, shall we say, jaw-dropping results for the leadership, saying, oh, well, we have so many more results than we first thought when we asked this question?
Yeah, it produced more support for the final decision more than anything. So that's kind of the first question when you say, our small customers earn a lot more profit. Oh, why is that the case? That doesn't make sense. These big companies have huge amounts of money and they spend it here. So we really had to dig into why that is, and that really supported the overall, answer as to why we need to focus on that. That's the question I got back from management. So, well, why is that the case? That doesn't make sense. Anecdotally, everyone thinks that we should just go to the biggest customers and bring in a lot of money. It turns out that's not the case, right? So, digging through it provided a lot more support to get it for that answer. So, to make sure that everyone is comfortable with the decision being made where we need to focus, because focus in the wrong direction, then you waste a lot of time, you spend a lot of money without going anywhere. So that's a risk you run into. I always fight against anecdotal evidence. Drives me crazy. This one guy said, my two customers said they love, they send us a lot of money and we make a lot of profit on it. So, anecdotal evidence is the thing in my existence right now.
You remind us what you did for your capstone project on the police data set for Raleigh. What tools did you use for that?
What did I use? I used SAS and Tableau.
SAS and Tableau, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you merge the zip code information from the location information? You were able to merge that?
Every police, so, I don't know if you shared that project with my class, right? So, for kind of the final project, I found City of Raleigh has a database of all the police incidents around the city. So it's type of incident, whether it's a robbery, a car accident, DWI, all those things. So every police incident is logged in an open database, which is great. And it was all geo-tagged, right? So every incident was geo-tagged. It was really cool to see where every incident, so I could plot every incident on the map, see where DWIs were most likely, what times a day. So you got, the overall, I can't remember, it was the police code, and kind of the subcode. So it was there's an assault with bodily injury, and then it's a day and a time and a geotag location. So found a lot of interesting stuff in that. Where DWIs are most likely to occur, what time of night, from 1 to 3 a.m. on major roads, take the small roads. If you're going home at 2 a.m., take the side roads. Don't go up 70, it's a mess.
Sunday is the lowest crime day.
Yeah.
My crime rates are low on
crime rates,
Sunday.
yeah, really
I think everybody's watching NFL.
Yeah, and I tried to look and see if there's seasonality with certain crimes. So, robbery or assault, there's seasonality with that. If the cold winter months or if it was raining that day, if that was less likely.
You've written some very good SAS code for the project.
Did you see my last page on that? I just kind of snuck that at the end. I don't remember if you remember the last page. So one of the codes is prostitution. So there's a concentration of prostitution in Southeast.
On this particular.
Just southeast of downtown. It's all right there, between 1 and 4 a.m.
Yeah, it's interesting what you
I don't
judge.
So yeah, that was really interesting.
Interesting use of data.
It was, yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, the city of Raleigh has all sorts of data sets on. It's just open. You can download the whole thing, start going through it. And this is actually a good point in this. One thing I found in this project shows you cleaning your data is pretty important, right? So I found that there was a big spike in police incidents. So police getting involved in incidents for about a 4-month period from February to April of 1 year. I can't remember what year it is. And it turns out that the police department of Raleigh got a new police commissioner the month before that spike started, right? So first thought was, well, police are trying to impress a new commissioner. We're getting 30 or 40% more arrests for a 4 or 5 month period. Turns out there was an error in the database, And for that 5-month period, everything was duplicated. So, turns out you take all that out, and it was just flatline, right? So, it took me a little while to figure that out, and find everything was just duplicated twice for some reason. So, it showed me a lot about if you don't do some basic cleaning or just looking at it, you can really be led the wrong direction, right? I thought the police chief was just trying to be, trying to impress her, but turns out it was all the same.
Speaking of open data, I would actually like to introduce, for those of you who do not know, I'd like to introduce Chris Matthews. Chris Matthews is enrolled in our program. He is the Senior Database Administrator for Wake County. He is actively involved in the Open Data Initiative in our county. Chris, would you like to tell us a little bit on what initiatives and what you're trying to get for our students?
Well, basically between Wake County, the city of Raleigh, the town of Cary, we're all merging together various data sources. The police data you've got, property data, permit data. I'm trying to get some EMS data as well. I just released a set to look at, which is maternal health, the past 10 years of low income and at-risk births within the county, about 40,000 or 50,000 records worth of data. So we're just trying to create an environment for people to discover things in our data that we don't have the manpower to develop for ourselves. So the city of Raleigh has a data portal, Wake County has a data portal, town of Cary is looking at getting a data portal. I actually secured a data portal for this program. I think it's called Wake Tech Analytics.OpenDataSource.com. You can go out there, you can upload data, download data. So it's awesome. Students are actually going to be doing projects that can actually upload their data to this so that other people can test their hypothesis, check their results, extend the data, extend the results to more analysis and do things along those lines. So we're just trying to really ramp up and develop a community within Wake County. I mean, there are several groups. I belong to a group called Code for Raleigh, which we do that type of thing. There's a group out at RTP, headed by Melinda Thielbar, who is one of the senior scientists at James. She runs one called Research Triangle Analysts, which is a group for analysts. There's an R group out of Chapel Hill that does the same type of thing. So we're all just trying to basically build a big community where we could do these type of things, both more for networking, professional development, as well as giving back to the community. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I was really impressed with that. I just found it offhand. I didn't know it existed. I was really impressed with the amount and the quality actually that they were all at. I was kind of surprised. Because a couple cities are doing this very similar thing. LA had.
LA is very far ahead. San Francisco, New York City has several, but actually, if you consider for the size of the population, we're probably right up there with all of those major metropolitans. So,
yeah. I found the quality of the data was a lot better.
Yeah, there are a lot of data sets out there that are not really high quality. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So I'd recommend anyone go to that open.
Data.raleighnc.gov and data.wakegov.com.
Yeah, it's really cool. A lot of data sets you can just download and play with.
Yeah.
Work on some projects. It's really cool stuff.
Yes, I mean the latest data he was talking about getting health information for low and at-risk populations, maternal health before and after delivery. I mean, this is data that they have collected over 10 years, more than 1,000 observations, and nobody's explored it. Can you imagine the wealth of information? They've instituted all these policies. I mean, to be able to see the effectiveness of those policies, how it's changed over time. There's so much that you can do using some analytical tools, but again, if the county doesn't have the resources to do it, I think having some information like that, some data sets like that, into a platform, into a portal where others can use it, and probably, give back just by doing some analytics for common good.
Chris, does that information get shared back with those respective departments within government?
That's
Or-
the plan. Because the ones that we've opened now, like the maternal health, have actually engaged the program manager and the senior supervisors to actually get their feedback on what data we should release, how to obfuscate the names, making sure we're not releasing any PII type of stuff. So we've already gone through that, and then hopefully, as I'm going to be using that project, a couple of projects, then share that analysis. We get a team that's doing more analytics, more predictive, more advanced analytics, like I started the program this semester. Just sharing that back so then we can do the same process of asking why, then we get the answers why, then we can get more whys. Then we can start to see things like that. You know, like how is hiring multilingual nurses affecting birth weights in Southeast Raleigh over the past 10 years? Those type of questions.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That's really cool. That's really
For an analyst, it's really fun questions. And
Yeah.
these very interesting questions to be
Yeah.
answered.
Especially linking up those two kind of disparate things.
Yeah.
So I see your next homework problem.
Yeah.
Stop giving her ideas.
Does anybody have any other questions? Go ahead.
Yes, it's a coincidence that I'm working on a data set for town of Kerry about crime.
Yeah, I think I don't know, I think I can actually get the Kerry data set of a friend who's done that.
Yes, I actually provided that link.
But Kerry doesn't have a portal up right now.
Well, I got the data from open data source,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and the only problem which I came across with the data was they, in fact, with the open data source, they did not really know what the data represents. So I had to go back and forth, and even had to call the town of Kerry to give me some of the description. Like,
Well, that's
the
always going to be
legend.
an issue. I know we had a project a couple months or a couple years ago where a researcher at UNC got hold of our birth and death database, which we track all the births and deaths in the county. And since they didn't understand what the metadata about the field abbreviations meant, they made some wildly inaccurate assumptions and published the papers. And they were completely wrong because they assumed that C meant completed when C meant canceled and X meant completed, so different things along those lines. So just because it didn't ask the question of what the metadata meant, they didn't get the right answer about the system.
Yeah, that's what I think I got some feedback today from town of Kerry. I think it's Beverly Lewis. She's
Okay. I'm not really, all I know is their CIO is that.
yeah. So that's something maybe we should be looked into. Maybe creating a legend in the data set
Yes.
so that we don't have this.
There are people that are definitely trying to make sure that the metadata about the data is accurate and complete.
Would you consider using standards? I mean, like for the metadata, there are formal standards for description.
There's lots of standards, yes.
That's
the problem.
So many of them.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a standard. Everyone's got.
Everyone has
They're just all different.
It's a right.
Right.
So I have a different question if you guys are finished.
No.
So if you had to look back on your career, may call you that.
No,
And if
Mr.
you,
Ryan. Call me Mr. Ryan like my dad.
and if you didn't do this program, this Hamilton program, how would that impact your life? Because you're already working at that company when you took the program. Right?
Yeah.
So how would that, I mean, in your words, I mean, what's your feeling?
I wouldn't have been as successful. Not that too. I wouldn't have. It would have been a lot more of a challenge, and I don't think I would have created this solid and complete work. Mainly from the perspective of going through this process, right? I would have skipped the whole idea of having to clean data and just pull out the information you need. Probably would have gone some terribly wrong directions, but this process is really what helped me more than anything. So I was, just starting to do a lot of that work, but this gave me a very strong foundation, especially just the basics of understanding what you're looking at and how to get to the answers that you need in a way that's truthful.
In the data collection step, how do you know when you have enough data to work with?
I mean, you never did.
Or do you have your own rule of thumb?
I collect everything, and then, you know, basically as much as you can. In all these kind of projects, we try to focus on a set time. So last 12 months, last 2 fiscal years, just start with that. Luckily, our records were pretty complete in that regard. And then from the perspective of cleaning, it's really just going through, you probably all do it right now, going through the process of looking at averages, looking at distribution, and seeing where the outliers are, start cutting those out. And then looking for just kind of weird anomalies and cutting those out. Once I get the feeling that, I don't know, I can't say I have a hard and fast rule feeling when the data set is right to move forward. But I get a pretty good feeling. I've got the outliers, I've got the obvious, you know, mistakes or the obvious issues or the data I definitely don't need to look at out. I take that data set and go forward and then see what the answers are. And usually end up going back a couple times and either cutting things out or adding stuff back in. So it's really kind of a cyclical process. Right? You start going through, exploring it, see what the distributions are for various things. Maybe the overall distribution is good. Maybe one of your set of data is skewed one direction and you don't need that for one reason or another. So it's kind of a never-ending process for me. When I did these, these programs for, for typing SAS programs, pretty big data step, in the end. But it started out with me just dumping everything in there and then going back and kind of building lines on that data step for 2 or 3 days as you look at averages and stuff. So
It sounds familiar to you.
yeah, it probably does. Right? So it was always tough, but I think just going through and looking at those basic kind of statistical indicators, the averages are, what the median is versus the average, and looking at the overall distributions and seeing where it ends up. Then segmenting it in a couple different ways. Maybe just look at parts, certain segments and see if that's skewed one way or another. So there's a lot of back and forth. Never is. Just go back and forth.
Last question.
I'm going to hold you to that.
So some of your work is very repetitive. The contracts very sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how often do you spend looking back at the analysis that you've done, just looking at the numbers again, just to see if you could tighten it, make it sharper?
About every quarter or so. Yeah, about every 3 or 4 months we went back and updated it. And that was based largely not just kind of pulling it out of the air, that was based largely on our sales cycle. So we found that over 90 days, we knew if a contract was won or lost. So every 90 days or so, we would have a new set of information to add and look at. So about every quarter. I couldn't do it that much, much more than that, just so the other work, right?
It was a 2-part question.
Or B.
So now that you've gone through this process, you've gone through this program, now you're at this level and you're functional, you're doing all these things. Where do you go from there? I mean, where do you get more input to take your level of analysis higher? What are you looking at? Do you have time to do that?
Well, not right now. I got a 5-month-old at home, so I got no time to do anything. But I think it comes not from looking at new software or new tools. I think it just comes from experience. With these projects, I have a lot of missteps. I have to go back a lot of times, and just through the experience of doing different projects, kind of get an idea of where the missteps could occur. And that's kind of where you improve. And obviously moving to bigger and bigger projects going forward. I just finished up one looking at exchange rates for our sites in Europe. This is a little background. We manage clinical trials as well. That involves shipping products all over the world and across Europe. So we house it in our big warehouse in England, and then as clinical trials start up, the doctor's offices run the clinical trials across the world. So we have to send amount of product to Bulgaria, to a warehouse in Bulgaria, and that gets distributed out to all the doctor's sites. We send to warehouses in, every country in Europe pretty much. And we used a company to store all that for us. So they were billing us, since our site was in England, they were billing us in pounds, and we were paying in US dollars, corporate US dollar standard. And we found out, looking at, since a large set of invoices, we found out exchange rate issues. So in the contract we have with this company, they were supposed to bill us based on a monthly average exchange rate of pounds to dollars. And what they were doing was using just a flat exchange rate of $1.50 per pound for the past 2 years. So, it came about because our VP of operations said that the margins are decreasing on this work, right? Just from overall, you look at the P&L, overall our margins are down 10% on this work. Turned out it was wholly due to an error in their software that was not doing the monthly exchange rate. So we got a credit of about $700,000 back from them, which bumped our margins back up to where they should be. So, that was a big set of invoices, and unfortunately it was messy because it wasn't in a database. We had to kind of scan and pull out paper invoices. It's not fun. But, it's kind of questions like that sometimes. Sometimes it's interesting things like that. We get that. But I would say the most valuable thing is just doing these types of projects and getting the experience of going through it. And then it was going through and the mistakes. You'll make mistakes. I've reported bad information before. We made bad decisions on it. Luckily, we were able to fix that in the future. So not all might have been successful. It's a spectacular failure, but I leave those out. It's a different presentation. So yeah, that's some failures where we just we made the wrong decision because, like I said, we didn't clean the data properly, and then when we didn't get the result we wanted, we looked back and found out why. Why is this not working? Let's go back and check it out again. So found out some erroneous data led us to a wrong conclusion. So let's try to avoid that in the future. But that's some spectacular failures that are not going to sustain.
Thank you so much for
It's
coming.
great.
Anybody wants to say something? Any questions? I think Alan is here for a few minutes. If you want him to do so. Sal does not have any more questions. I think, Sal, he's all yours after we finish. So feel free to ask him questions after.